Exciting. Success. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
As I heard, some people are happy to be here, and it's not for the course, it's to meet each other. So
It's been a while since we.
just understand I too will be going to work after this, and that's because of a self-inflicted wound called a startup. So, but let's start off. My name is Michael Miller. I hear that some MHIs have been talking to you guys, so already there's an opinion formed by some people, but hopefully it's better than worse. Or not.
Or not.
Good. Let's start with the clean slate. I don't know why everything's so laggy. I don't know why.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. Okay, good to know. It felt a little laggy, but I thought it was my laptop.
It's working fine on mine.
Oh no, it's a screen. I think it's like
Screen that's messed
yeah. Anyways, whatever. Okay, so today's the only day that we're going to be in this room. We're going to be in 208 and every other session after, which is a much nicer open room because it's just cozy. It's got its good qualities as well. So we're just going to go through a quick outline of the syllabus, make sure that you guys know what the course is about. Any guesses based on the title, what we're going to be talking about? ICT. Okay, and what's ICT? Technology. So this is going to be the nerdy course. Who's no, I'm just joking. I try making it accessible. Okay, so I'll just start off a little bit about me. So I worked in Ministry of Health for 3 years. I became the eHealth strategy lead. Then I went into finance, and the secret plan was mostly so I could start my side hustle on my startup. And then in 2017, I quit that finance job to actually work on my startup. And so before, it wasn't just a startup. I mean, this is the first, like anyone I taught before this, it was just, we have a great idea. We're going to make a product. It's going to change everything, but we have no clients. Now it's different. So our solution is being used to it's a virtualization platform. So basically we listen to all the data that already exists in the healthcare environment and then put it onto a virtualized platform so that I can automate case management, nurse navigation flow for people who are remote, as well as automate engagement and personalized education for patients and caregivers. So that's kind of what we do. And we're going to be in 76 hospitals by the end of this year. So it's going to be a pretty big deal.
Give us a demo or something. It would be nice to see.
One of the things I'll do outside of it, one of the things I realized is that as I go through the course, I keep on making references to certain things because I don't like the way that technology works in healthcare a lot. Like when I was in the ministry, I thought I would be able to change, but then I changed how we procure, what kind of systems we procure, and I was really excited. I was like that old school 1980s kind of feel about public service, where it was like I'm going to change, and I don't care what it takes. I'm going to sacrifice. No one in the ministry is like that anymore. By the way, they're fully unionized people, and if they are like that, then it grates at them over time because it's really hard to change in the current setting. But what I realized is that in the relationship between the single payer, the health service provider, and the vendor gets the last word. So if the vendor is evil, the solution will be evil. So that's when I decided that I wanted to go towards the vendor side so I could influence it a little bit better.
Michael?
Yeah?
Are you going to be deploying in 76 Canadian or US?
76 Canadian. I haven't even gone to US. So all I care about now is US because I've done as much as I can strategically in Canada. But even as a startup, getting into hospitals is pretty hard. So near impossible. Most people actually just decide to go to the US right off the bat. They find like 1 or 2 validation hospitals and then they sell to the States. And then once they have enough States, then they accept you in Canada. So, but I attacked a word that every hospital hates to hear and wants to solve, and the word is ALC. And so that's the thing that we actually combat, and that's the reason why.
You need a demo.
You need a demo?
Like we can see it.
You know, one of the things I was going to do is, look, most of our sessions are all done by July. So what I was thinking of doing was maybe sometime in August, having you guys come over to the office, because we're actually at like a startup incubator. It's got like ping pong tables, awesome coffee. So it's a much better venue than stuffy university buildings. So anyways, that's a little bit about me. And so when I was in finance, I learned a lot about governance, audit, risk management. And it was my way of having a job that was so different that when someone found out that I was doing my startup, they would say that there's no conflict of interest because it was so different. But I did that and I learned so much. I learned so much about how you need to govern technology, what are the complications once you start amassing too much technology, and it really, really changed what I was going to do with my startup as a result. So it was really kind of useful. So yeah, anyways, so I founded the company in 2009, but it was just like literally a corporation with nothing. Does anyone have a corporation that does nothing? It's kind of like a check. Come on, you have one. You're
I
smiling.
had one.
Yeah. Because you register the corporation, you have these great ideas, and you have no time, so you still pay the corporate fee. So that's what 2009 is. But yeah, I side hustled between that time and went full time since 2017. And so our new product is called RightPath. Our old product is called MindMerge, and MindMerge is like being used by every major cancer network inside Ontario, but it really doesn't have any legs as a product. So anyways, I want to know a little bit about you guys. So I don't know. Every class is so different, right? And the last class I taught was eager, starry-eyed, MHI, straight from grad. So I want to know how you guys are better or different. You met them?
We've met them.
So one thing, so one thing I'll say is that like, before I want to go around and ask you guys, but one of the things that I really want you guys to do in this class is to try, if you've had experience in the field, then you have developed a certain level of apathy as you've gone through your actual career, okay? What I ask you in my class is, please try resetting that apathy. I always say this to people. I say the hardest thing, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of the people I hire are pretty young, and it's not because of the fact that I want to exploit their energy. No, it's because they have no apathy. So no one's, they want to change the world, and no one's told them that they can't. And when you want to do impossible stuff, like really hard stuff, convincing people that they need to think bigger is going to be the big thing. And I think healthcare's number one ailment is collective apathy. Everyone thinks that you can't change it. And then when you've got 20 people in a room who all think that you can't change it, you're not going to change it. So in our class, I want you to think, like when you propose ideas, I want you to think big, okay? If I hear that you're putting an apathy filter in it, I will call it out, okay? I'm just making sure that we do that. And on that note, maybe if you guys can, we'll start here.
So what do you need to know from me? My name's David, one of the three Davids.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So it'll be like, David, answer this
All
question.
gonna jump in.
That'll be great. That's awesome.
A little bit about myself, or you just want the two questions?
No, that was in case you don't know. Just like, I want to know who you...
So I have neither technology nor clinical background.
Okay.
I come from community. I'm a medical editor.
Community is so awesome. It is a hope of the next, like the sustainability of healthcare. So,
And I'm pivoting towards.
You're gonna have to stand here like.
okay.
I'm Stephanie. I work as a medical technical specialist at St. Michael's Hospital.
Okay.
I'm kind of the nerd in the background.
Awesome. And you've held on to that? No, we're in St. Mike's in a big way. So we might be rolling out across the Unity Toronto with our solution. So it's pretty exciting. So anyways, do you work with Sorarian?
Hi, I'm Mary Louise. I'm a project manager at Medtronic. I work in data analytics and data management.
Okay.
For process improvement initiatives. Most of my work these days is taking me on a different path towards like really virtual technologies like the ones you're talking about. So I'm learning a lot
Okay.
and learning also a lot of challenges that come with all data governance stuff with Canadian
Oh,
hospitals.
data governance.
Yeah.
You need data. You need basic data management before you can start doing data governance. And almost every hospital is trying to just jump to data governance.
Yeah.
And the executive support that you need to correctly get data governance in place is so immense. Financial companies can't even do that. And their data models like this small. Healthcare's data models this big. Anyways, we'll talk about that. We do.
And it's not only that, it's like the privacy, the IRB, and the you can't have our data because it's gold. So it's also
Yeah, but again, that's misunderstanding and apathy. And people wield those as weapons if you don't know what you're doing. And one of the focuses in this course is I don't want you to become a technician. I just want you to know how to deal with technology. Because so often I see people who are unequipped with it managing projects, and then they find their best technical person, right? And then they lean on them for everything, but they don't know. They're just more vocal than the rest of the people. So you have to come with an awareness, or else you'll be led down a weird path. So that's cool.
Yeah, I'm Sabine. I just accepted a new role of clinical planning lead at Humanitarian Network. And you want to know what my favorite technology? Yeah, that's GPS because I can get lost on my street.
Yeah.
And what else? I guess my expectations from the course are exactly what you said because I'm a foreigner in MD. So I want to kind of demystify the technical terms and technology so I can kind of understand and kind of speak this similar language to someone who's extremely technical. So yeah, that's my goal and expectation.
Okay.
That's all things.
I'm Miko, and I work as a team lead at Health Quality Ontario, and soon to be hopefully Ontario Health. So I work in health system performance, that branch, working mainly on public reports, but also some non-public reports. So just dealing with a lot of data and how to communicate it.
How do you feel about Joshua Tepper going to Norfolk General?
That's a good move for him.
There we go.
Yeah.
Very political answer. I like it.
My name is Mohammed. I have a computer science background and a pharmacy background. I work at the Community Hospital in Cornwall, Ontario. I've been in management administration for a while now. I oversee clinical and non-clinical departments, including ID, decision support, pharmacy lab.
Oh.
Federal technology. I guess it's the whole Google platform. It's like just being a person. I don't set expectations for the course. I like to come in here and just
what happens happens.
Whatever happens. I can whatever I like.
Sorry, I forgot to say that I'm actually a comp sci graduate. I tried this January to become a full-time CEO, and then realized that probably the architecture component that I give to my business is a big differentiator. So I'm 20% architecture and coding. Like I'm the emergency coder. So whenever something goes wrong at St. Mike's, you're like, oh my goodnthat's, there's a speed issue and I can't solve it. I have no weekend, and that's what's actually happening after this. So, so I still code, but I don't. That's not my primary role. So.
I'm David again.
Yeah. Hi, David. Too.
David too. I work as an analyst at CAMH. I work actually closely with what we would call our information management group. So it's like kind of IT and all of like operations, health information management and such.
Yeah.
Curious to learn from this course because we do a lot of time. We spend a lot of our time procuring technologies and managing that, and also deciding what we should do for the hospital. But then it's also convincing people that like what we're doing is good, and also almost convincing ourselves. So I'm curious to learn about like once you have something, how do you engage people in taking up the technology?
Okay, sweet. I work for. This could be a bad thing, but I work for HiNext. Do you know who they are? Do you guys still use Treat?
We do not.
Yes. Congratulations.
In 2014, I replaced it with the Cerner system.
Yeah, HiNext made me want to create my own company. Let's put it that way.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Long story. When I first started as a developer there, 2 months in, there was this phone that kept on ringing, and I didn't know. I thought it was like a person who was on leave, and so one day I just picked it up, and a person on the other side was a clinician, and that was the support line. So by picking up, I became the support and implementation lead. But I don't get that, like a support line that just rings. Anyways.
So my name is Mitra. I work as a physician assistant at UHN and thoracic surgery.
So then why are you in this technology area?
Like, you know how everyone has had experience with like technological crap? I have that.
Okay.
Because I'm a clinician.
You're a clinician. Okay. So, okay.
She's a pure clinician whom you'll be every single time pulling her out for that. That's the one. Every single
I
time.
just, yeah.
Just keep that in mind.
Get ready for it. Okay. I'm ready.
And Suwachi Yusra, I'm also a clinician. I'm a registered nurse in clinical care at Toronto General. And I guess what I'm expecting to learn from this course is to be able to be better versed in technical terms and understanding what the
Okay. Uh-oh. Maybe we should close that door. I hope that's not secure. Oh. Hello. Hey. This is a course. Okay, you can close it if you want it. Yeah. Okay. Well, whoever's in here is in here now. Okay, let's keep on going.
Hi, my name is Neha. I trained as a radiation therapist, worked for a bit, and then I switched over to the health informatics field. So currently I'm an application team lead for oncology.
At
My
where?
favorite technology, sorry?
Where are you at?
Mackenzie Health,
Okay.
in Richmond.
Epic.
Yeah. My favorite technology, I have to agree with Sabine, is Google Maps. Yes, because I wouldn't be able to get here to class.
Has
Without
somebody
it.
else found that Google Maps on their phone has gotten like a lot worse over the past year or so? Or is it just me?
Well, it's gotten worse.
It's like it's so slow now.
All kinds of worse.
How come?
It's just like it's so laggy. Like before, I just want to be able to open up a map.
Try reducing the options.
You need a new phone.
Very helpful
Maybe.
to provide.
That might not.
Okay, before we deconstruct this into the Google Maps course, thank you for your addition. If you, so it's not going to be Google Maps from over here. That's what I'm doing.
And then, yeah, what I expect from this course is whatever you teach us from your experience.
Okay.
My name is Lena. I started out as an X-ray technologist, but now I work as a clinical specialist at a company called Client Outlook that no one's heard of. But it's based in Waterloo, and we do radiology viewing.
Without AI, really?
We're partnered with a few AI companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone who does radiology viewing as a company has an AI buddy.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, that's cool. So you work in, is it a startup or is it like a larger organization?
It's a smaller organization, but not really a startup. It started in
More like a family.
2009.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Diana, I work at UHN.
Yeah.
I kind of say this, but it's kind of getting weird to say it. I used to be a square peg in a round hole. Comp-sci is my background, but I was plumped into lab information systems. And I deal with histocompatibility and blood bank now.
Okay.
I'm David, number 3.
Okay.
I work for the Ontario Hospital Association
Oh,
as a research analyst. I support the health maturity benchmarking, so the AMRAP stuff. Favorite technology, I would have to say Excel, just because I depend on it.
Nice. That's a really good choice. People don't know how much they depend on Excel. Like the people who use Excel, they care about nanoseconds. It's one of the most finely tuned pieces of software I've ever seen in my life. So.
And then second question, what do I expect? Just foundational knowledge in ICT, just because I don't have an IT background.
Okay.
My name is Inderpal. I started off working on the help desk for Practice Solutions before they got bought by TELUS. Then I moved on to Point Click Care, worked in the integrations department, and now I work for Strata Health. I've been there for, it's going to be 4 years. My new role is going to be called Senior Interface Analyst, but I do mainly integrations, HL7, Fire, etc.
Sweet.
I'm Steve. So I have a background in molecular biology research, but the past couple of years I've switched over more to the data side of things. And so now I work at CAMH, and I just started a new job as a project lead for the RedCap software that we use there.
RedCap?
Yeah, it's stands for Research Electronic Data Capture. So it's like our electronic data capture platform for the hospital. It's been running for about 3.5 years now. So yeah, I guess my favorite piece of technology is probably Photoshop.
Photoshop. Ooh.
I tried starting my own small business as a Photoshop instructor. I have my own YouTube channel. But,
we're in royalty. YouTube royalty presence.
And YouTube defended my channel and I stopped making videos.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's still online, and I still get like subscriber a day basically, but I haven't made a video in like 2 years.
He wants like people who want to see his content. So he's a content creator.
I guess you could call me that.
Okay.
Former content creator.
Okay, cool. So I like knowing about the class because it lets me know how I need to frame stuff. So we've got some deeper tech people like comp sci background, and I always like it. So I had the previous one I taught, Oliver Tsai, who's like the basically VP or director, I forget, someone, executive director at Sunnybook for IT was in the class. And like literally the guy knows everything about everything, but I like assuming that you don't. And if I'm wrong, challenge me, because again, I'm going to try sharing the most recent information I have, and that's changing, especially in the current environment right now, right? So, okay. Goals of this course. Oh, what am I doing? What? Oh, there we go. Okay, goals of this course. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little bit of a rant, and it kind of leads to the apathy thing, right? Is that one of the things that I couldn't have actually predicted, as I saw, like, look, I wasn't here since the inception of the cool computer era. I was born into it, so I'm not that old. I'm like 39-ish, so but basically, as I grew up, I really saw technology, and I always was awed as I saw every evolution of it come through. And what I couldn't predict is how people have normalized the use of it, right? So they would do so much work to make using a complex device such as a computer or a smartphone so easy for a person to use that it completely abstracted the amazingness of what was happening in that device. Right? Like when you use your iPhone, right? If you actually knew the technological value of what they put inside it, you would create a procedure by where you'd exalt it when you bring it out, and then there'd be like music as you come out, and then a light would come down on it, and you'd be like, "Can I please use your awesome technology?" And it would say, "Yes, you may." And then you could actually go in and you could press a button and you could do it. And it's like, "I must use Google Maps, satellites. Can I talk to you?" They're like, "Yes, you may." And then you go through. See, that's really. But now it's just like you throw it. You're like you throw it across. You're like, as you take it out of your pocket, you're like, "Oops, I dropped it. Oh, it doesn't work. I can't believe it. What a crappy piece of, So, but we live in an amazing time, right? I mean, like the concept that you have to think is that information is like basically worth nothing now. If it wasn't for copyrights and laws, it just would be worth nothing because you can copy it all the time, right? But information was worth a lot before. It was not even that long ago. 200 years ago, information was probably the most expensive good that you could get, right? The people who would create successful companies had good accountants who had a way of somehow sharing information between 15 paper ledgers with each other. And those people would actually create a competitive advantage to be better than everyone else. And now, you download Office 365 and you're right up to par with every other business if you want to, because you've got better sharing technology. And so when you really think about it, and anyone who's downloaded, like if you have an ebook reader, you can just keep on downloading ebooks, just ebooks, right? Your ebook reader can hold as many books as a library can. And that's a kind of crazy concept, right? And it's something that I don't want to get too far away, because I think that you have to have awe of what you do. Because when you have awe of what you do, it means that you have some understanding of how anyone in technology, there is no technology guru, because they all stand on the shoulders of multiple giants, right? You got giants standing on top of giants on top of giants, right? If you don't have people who create microprocessors that can get like transistors that you can barely even see with an electron, like with a microscope, then you couldn't get the processing speed. You couldn't get the quality to be able to do all the stuff that we have to do, right? And so and then also like the software people are coming in. Like there was for the first 20 years, it was all about hardware. Hardware people are amazing. But then software started pulling out more functionality and more capability out of the existing hardware that we have. And so when you see improvements in your computers these days, it's not actually that much from hardware anymore. Hardware is starting, it's falling. Does anyone know what the Moore's law is? I want to just get a hand just to see how many people know. Okay. Well, we'll talk about it later on. But either way, it's a prediction that there's a certain rate that technology will always increase. And if you take away software, then it's actually declining now. But if you add software, it's actually keeping up to par. So anyways, but the new information challenge, I actually did this slide. Okay, so this is a wall of text slide. So you shouldn't do these slides usually. But it actually argues my point, which is it's a fire hose of data that you have. How do you get the new challenge isn't going to be about how do you get information from one place to another. It's how do you get the right information in front of people when there's so much information present, right? Does anyone know how many times larger a medical record is now after EMRs than it was before? 20?
Before what? We gotta say, like before, like what? When?
Before it was digitized. Before NRAM scores started getting enforced. Yeah, when it was just paper, if you just took that and scanned it into a record, how much larger do you think an electronic medical record is now? Like
500,000.
Okay, thanks for blowing out. 40, it's 40, 500 to 1,000 okay, it will be 500 to 1,000 once we start getting digital devices, putting information inside it. What?
Who doesn't? Every EMR has
I'm talking about the clinical medical record, not your personal health record.
No, but even at the clinical record at the hospital, you actually have every single EKG data, your heart monitors, and your point of care devices now all populating. So it's literally each record is 1,000 pages compared when it used to be, I don't know, this many.
Yeah, so I don't think that many hospitals, the patient record has a very strong legal implication. A patient or medical record, right? So all that diagnostic imaging, the imaging itself doesn't go in. The only thing that goes in is a note regarding that of what the radiologist says. So that's what I'm talking about when I said that. But even that is 40 times larger, right? So that's 40 times as much that you have to read. Not only that, do you think any of the EMRs are set up to let you read a 40 times long medical record faster than you could paper?
No.
No, right? So, like EMRs are, okay, I'm going to say stuff in this room and you don't walk out and say, Michael said this, okay? I'm going to be open, so this is kind of like our circle of trust. But they're glorified cash registers, and their true owners are not clinicians. They are the administrators and the legal people, right? Right? That's what they actually are. And so what we need to do is understand that ICT needs to mean more than that, right? And so the biggest problem is going to be, how do you have, data is so cheap, so there's so much data. So now the new thing is going to be about how do you filter out the signal from the noise? Because right now there's so much noise inside the health record. So this is why ICT is so important, because the responsibility that you have is not just about connecting systems now. It's about connecting meaningful information and getting it to the people that you need. So, and one of the things that people forget is, like, if you really look at how healthcare works, right? Every single time when a patient comes in, the first thing that you're trying to do is understand what's happening with them. Once you know what's happening with them, then because people have shared information, you can confidently know what you need to do with them, right? So it's really, you have the getting to the diagnosis, right? And then the treatment afterwards, usually it's just pathway and follow-up. And the attitudes are so different. The diagnostic mindset is so different than the treatment mindset. And so the thing is, but if you look at that, so much of that is information, right? If patients were allowed to somehow, have a digital way of just knowing if they have this diagnosis, they have an entitlement to these drugs and these treatments, it would be possible that a patient could just go and do their services without having to come back to a hospital or clinic or a family physician all the time, right? It is, like, if you think about it purely from an information perspective, that is possible. But we have gatekeepers and checkers. And why are they there? Well, they're there for a process that made sense maybe 20 years ago, but maybe we need to rethink that process, right, as we go forward. So anyways, I still think that because healthcare, all industries that primarily are based on information have to understand technology. And I would argue that medical procedures, like medicine in general, of all the interactions and the costs that we pay for in the healthcare system, the number of those that actually are just information exchanges, whether, like, to me, an information exchange is the ability to giving a prescription, right? Giving them the right to actually get a drug that already has a supply chain that can be provided to them. A lot of the money that we pay is just information transactions inside the healthcare system. So there is a huge opportunity for ICT to play a major role inside optimizing it still. So anyways, what we're going to focus on for this course is a good understanding, not a great, like, look, let's not kid ourselves. There's 5 courses. And then, so we're going to try our best. Course formats also, I'm like literally today, I'm teaching what I teach the MHIs in 3 lectures, right? So what we're going to do is I'm going to try getting through one quickly. Then we're going to do a 10-minute break. Then I'm going to teach another one. Then we're going to do a lunch break, okay, which is 30 minutes, not like the conventional unionized lunch. So, and then we're going to do the last module after that. But if you have questions, you can ask them during it, but the goal is to get through those as we go through. So let's set time so people have something to look forward to.
Yes.
You really don't hold anything back, right? Okay, I'm going to have to figure out a teaching mechanism to work with that.
No, it's been so long. Good luck.
Okay. So the first break, let's take it at 11. Then the second one we'll do at 12:30. And then hopefully, then we'll finish at 3, right? Make sense? Is that fair? Okay. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to quickly go through the syllabus so that you guys know. Were you guys able to download it?
You will download it, Mom?
Sorry, so understand. One thing I'm going to say is, first of all, in the syllabus, I say which email to reach me at. So you guys, it's like a catch-22. You have to have the syllabus to know where to go to in Quarkus. So if you don't have Quarkus, you don't have the syllabus. So does everyone know you're using Quarkus fine? Do you see who here doesn't see the site? The site, it's mostly just file uploads. I don't like using all the rest of the functionality inside there that much. You guys are lucky. I only changed the curriculum last year. This curriculum before had a 20 quiz kind of online format before, so I've changed that because it's horrible. It's useless, and it also it challenges more the ethics of everyone. Every class I taught, the students thought that they had me outsmarted, but it reports the IP that they're doing, and I'm like always looking at. I'm like, why is it the same IP address for 5 different students? Scratch. Anyways, my thing is I want to create situations where you're not incentivized to break student ethics. Okay, so let's just go through it really quickly. So today we're going to go through. Oh wow, this is the wrong one. Nice. Let me just. Oh my goodness. You guys have it downloaded? Did I upload the right one though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the right one.
That's the right one.
Okay, good.
Starts with May 20th.
Okay, so it's the right one online. That does all that. Oh wow, that's really hard to read. Anyways, whatever. Okay. Oh wow, what the hell? What a bad format. Like seriously. And that was just from maximizing it. Okay, I'm gonna go do it this way. Okay, so today we're going to talk about introduction of information communication technologies, data representation, and information communication technology. Okay, I'm actually going to let you guys choose your own adventure here a little bit, okay? So I have 3 assignments for you guys because one of the assignments I'm going to cheat, we're just going to do it during class, okay? And I'll just tell you what the first assignment is. So some of the computer science people or people who've done this already are going to roll your eyes. We're just going to make a web page. We're just going to make a web page because what I found out is it's all about demystifying it, right? Either way, I want you to know what a developer does. So you either respect what the developer does, or you're like, that's all they do? Why don't I just do it myself from now on? I want to demystify it. Making a web page is super simple, is super duper simple, right? Or maybe it's incredibly hard and you never want to do it again, but now you're going to treat your developers with more respect. So either way, there's a good thing that comes out of it. So that's what we're going to do as an in-class module, just so that we can move our hands and feet. 6 hours is hard. So then June 6th, we all have the right days here, right? June 6th, we're going to do multimedia, solution design and development, June 8th, and then July 18th and July 20th, okay? So then sometime in August, I will also have another session that I will set up that will be based out of our offices. So it's a lot cooler. At least there's coffee that you can get for free. And that one I'm going to be talking about. I tried, every time I do this, I get caught up. I can't finish the connected healthcare. So I'll probably do the connected healthcare rant, which examines like some of the more progressive technologies that we have and that kind of stuff, but that's an optional course. You don't have to come to it, okay? The Choose Your Own Venture part here is that I have a data science assignment that I throw out. So my question is, I need to figure out how eager/time you guys have. I don't mind taking that away and making the group assignment worth more.
Yes, please.
Yes.
So,
let's hear
but understand.
In our defense, the last semester was not very conducive to us actually liking data science. I think I can sort of kind of maybe speak to the class, but for the class, but yeah.
Well,
We
I
can
like data
have the
science.
best. Well,
Is it a group one or individual?
Yeah, let's just hear about
Yeah.
it.
yeah, I
see what it's.
So just understand that all the MHI people, while they were teaching the other course, okay, this cannot come back to Julia. Like if you want to bring this back to Julia, you gotta step out right now for a second.
Maybe pause the recording.
Yes, maybe. Sorry, Anoop, if you're here, you would have heard this. Okay, I'm back to, oh man, that was weird what happened with the recording. I don't know why it stopped. Okay, okay, so laughs aren't going to help cover it up at all. Okay, so anyways, that was basically it. So this is so the individual assignment is worth 20%. So if you just show up to class, you're going to get 20%. Okay, that's a good, we're going to run you through, we're going to show you how to make a very simple website using any one of your computers super easily, right? So,
That's June 8th?
what?
That's June 8th?
Yes.
So can we cheat?
Well, it's due, but I'm going to be doing modules in each class. But every module is a full walkthrough. If you came to no class except for June 8th, and you just didn't listen to me for 20 minutes, you'd finish the entire assignment during the class.
What software do we need for the website? We need to download?
That's the secret. You don't need website. You just need Notepad. You don't need any software. Yeah, I actually say download Atom or Sublime, which is nice for like structuring it. But I make you use Notepad first so that you understand why your developers are very particular about what environments that they code in, right? So don't worry. It's like, it's really, what it is understand code and it's not scary. And understand these systems are way more simple to use than you actually think.
Don't be.
Don't be.
I don't know. Personally speaking, it's taking me back to 90. I think around the same time. So yeah, but
Yeah.
sorry, I started on Pascal in '86.
Well, see, everything that I do, one of the things that you'll notice is I never do things for one reason. I try doing things if they satisfy 2 or 3 different reasons. The goal at the end of this is that you have a personal website. If you have a personal website, you are automatically different than every other like faceless MBA or like person who comes to the program. If you have a personal website, just dump a LinkedIn widget on it, have a little bit of Google Analytics. People will be like, oh my goodness, who are you? And that was 20 minutes. See, for me, it's all about highest value of effort that you actually do. So then we have the implementation consultant one. This one's big. Like this one shows to me that you've learned the topics in the class because we have different domains. You can show, if you just look at the slides and look at it, go one by one, then you can finish it. And if you can see, I don't want the super long things, 5 to 6 pages. That's what I want. It's gotta be 5 to 6 pages. And that, you know, I don't want it to be like super long stuff, okay?
Are you grading everything yourself?
Yes, I had 37. Yeah, Just me. It's been a point of contention for. And then data science. This one's really easy though. This one's really easy. So what did I say? I didn't even put. Some people submitted 3 pages for this assignment. So the nice thing is basically what I give to you, full Jupyter log and the questions. And then basically what I say is these were the outcomes. And like the Jupyter log is very easy to understand. John Bay did a great job of documenting that. And then basically you just talk about what was wrong. So I think it's useful.
That's the one we're voting on?
Yeah, that's the one that you're voting on. So if you don't get that, then that 20% is going to be reallocated towards the group assignment and the individual assignment. That's all. That's why I need to know, because I have to submit how they don't like it when you're just like, yeah, I just mark people and I have no syllabus.
Well,
So-
we had a lot of the last minute stuff in our data science stuff, so we were wondering why.
No, they didn't. They set the requirements.
Yeah, but
This
then-
percent, this percent.
Right, but then do you not remember when in the middle of the class they were like, okay, if you submit this, you get 3 points.
Oh, those are bonus points.
Well, that's
That's
part of
separate.
it.
Yeah.
They were not, they were nice.
They were, no, they were nice.
And they're actually, and surprisingly, they are involved
Very nice.
in data science type work inside real environments. But it also shows that more, it's also the too many cooks issue. It's also the new course issue. Like literally, just understand, they were given make a curriculum. I think it was October. So that's not the longest time to create a class. So like I'm recording. So guys, come on.
We can read that.
Okay. But I don't have time for that. So last one is participation. Just be existent, submit your stuff, like be present. That's basically it. Sorry, I'm not like my goal right here. Like, look, I really genuinely want you guys to learn because I have one opportunity. I feel all the other classes talk around the issue. This is technology. I will talk about specific technology, what their flaws are, what you need to think about. I only have one course to teach this. I think, to be honest, the amount that we have to teach in this domain, when you start, I can't even get into cool stuff like digital twin, focused ultrasounds, like the new, telemedicines. There's so many cool things that are going on in technology. I can't get to them.
So how about you said some of the not cool stuff and focus on the cool stuff? Because we're cool with that.
Yeah.
Because you're computer science and you're like, yeah, I read it. I need to make it accessible because focus. So I talk a little bit about it. That's the one where you can come for free coffee in our environment, play some ping pong for like break. Then at least it's a fun topic. So I can show you what the happy side of it is, right? So you come to the bonus, we'll do that. Okay, good? Everyone good?
Can I just clarify one thing?
One thing.
If we don't do the assignment,
Yes.
and we allocate the 20% to the other 2 assignments, does that dictate the other 2 assignments will be harder?
No, just the marking would be a little.
Because you said they would be harder.
They'd be a little bit harder. Like I was going to reduce the requirements I was going to make the presentation worth a lot more for the group assignment, and then the summary report be much shorter, for example.
So they will change how the assignments are.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we go into it right now? Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Okay, I'm on the timer. When do I have to finish by? 11, right? I got 1 hour. Let's do this.
It's kind of late.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just telling you how time works.
What if we start moving this room close to the speed of light, though? Maybe I have that, you gotta watch out. Okay. What is the purpose of technology? Whatever, graphics, you can look at it. Okay, people, process technology. Have you heard this a bunch of times or not really? Okay, you shouldn't be tired of this. This literally is the only reason why MHI is relevant, right? So if you think about it, a lot of people are walking around the world just thinking people and technology, people and technology. You got people, you got technology, there we go. It works, right? The part that MHIs make different is process. You have an awareness of clinical processes. And trust me, it is becoming I've bet my company on the fact that our negligence in understanding process when it comes to healthcare technology is going to be our differentiator, right? And every time that you're frustrated, don't look at this diagram anymore and just think of it as, oh yeah, it's just a buzzword that says it. No, this is our weapon. This is our primary weapon, right? We say that too many implementations are just about people and technology, right? I would actually argue that, sorry, I'm going to hit on NRAM. Like, that's why you guys, if you're doing NRAM, you're just, I get it's not you, it's just your job, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So does anyone know what NRAM is?
Yeah.
Who doesn't? Okay, so that's good. So that's good, right? Like, just so you know, I was doing a panel lecture with Will Falk over at Rotman, and he said, he made a joke about NRAM, and the entire crowd went silent. And he's like, what the? And he turned around and he said, how many of you guys don't know what NRAM is? And literally 90% of the crowd did it, right? But understand that NRAM has dictated the funding model on how the government has allocated funding for the hospitals. So NRAM is basically a really, is it 1 to 7? Yeah, it's the freaking most oversimplification of technology ever, right? So I think 6 is closed loop medication, and then 7 is everyone does everything digitally. But really, I would argue that NRAM only cares about people and technology. It doesn't really, it talks about processes and CPOE, but CPOE isn't processes. CPOE, I would argue, is data. It's just data, right? When this person has this, and I'm a doctor, you must do these things. Doing things, a task list is not the same as process, right? So I want to make sure that there's the difference. And so one of the things that is really big is that process is important. What data you give to a doctor matters on where that patient is at on their journey. What information you give to a nurse or a PSW matters on what type of treatment or what phase, how their symptoms are dealing, right? So understanding process is how we differentiate what we do. So when you combine all three of these together, then you create a kind of tacit knowledge bank, right? When you combine people, process, and technology correctly, you can create this knowledge that requires the digital device, requires the people, and requires the processes to be aligned to have value, right? How many people here have had to create education for like a clinic, like some kind of form about it, right? Could you take that same information packet that you have, take it to another hospital and use it? No, it'd be useless, right? So, but how important is that packet for patients that go into the program? So that's an example, right? That is very valuable knowledge that has huge value inside that process, but you change one element of the equation, it suddenly doesn't work. Okay, so, and as I said, it has a deep importance. That's where you need to fight people, because you're once you go out with your MHI and you want to wield, like you should, every time you finish a degree, understand you got 2 years where you can just bash people in the head over it. So just do as much as you can. But when you go there, that's where you need to argue, is like they keep on talking about data and just, it's all about the technology, and say, no, it's how you use it. It's how you incorporate it into your process and how you analyze it. So I want to make sure. So I kind of also did, you don't have to go through this much, but if you think about it, like, there's different aspects, there's different information that we do in the environment that is a mix between these. And for really in your side, you're always going to be doing different activities in here. It's good for you to understand which ones, where they sit, right? Because you need to know what are different things. So when you're thinking about policies, for example, if you're creating policies, I'd argue, like I teach governance in this class because it's a very important aspect about healthcare. But policies rely on process and people. That's very important, right? When you get into the middle part, I would actually say that that's where we start to shine. Like a lot of people drop the middle part. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to incorporate into a discussion people, process, as well as technology at the same time. So got it? Golden triangle, important, not something that you gloss your eyes over. We actually, our actual MHI is sitting on this, okay? So the takeaway, original technology, hammer, pick, wheel were adopted. Yeah, so anyways, whatever. I'm beating the dead horse. Okay, so yeah, when I say ICT, I want just rapid fire. What is ICT? Give me an example of ICT. And you're going to be the controversial one all the time. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I've seen a lot of clinics work off Excel. A web portal? How about like the more obvious one? An EMR? Yeah, there we go. Anyone? Anything else? So, a phone, yeah, a phone, a pager. So what do you think like everyone uses ICT. Actually, to be honest, before I took an MHI, I never said the word ICT before.
Well, we're all the same.
Oh, okay. So in healthcare, though, it is used, but then sometimes people are like, what's an ICT? So I actually don't think that I don't think that it's a layman. It's definitely not a layman word, and I don't even think that it's a healthcare word. So I think that it's like a healthcare IT word that some people say in ICT, and it's mostly so that they can differentiate. They think that information communication technology, one of the biases is it's always about just people, but really anything that contains information that you need to transfer to other people places is an ICT, right? So even a PACS system, even digital imaging, that's all ICT. The main reason why they did that is because in healthcare, there's also medical devices, right? So medical devices are at the point, but so many medical devices have to connect into an ICT system. So it's just about this device gives you data, how do you manage that data? So anything that manages that data is within an ICT bracket. Does everyone know about medical device? Oh, go ahead.
The other word I keep hearing is medtech.
MedTech.
Is there a difference between ICT and
Health tech, insure tech. No, it's just a cool branding. It's not really in fact, medtech.
I think it might be applied more to
No,
devices,
but you go to did anyone go to collision?
Yeah.
Oh, it was so high level. It was so beautiful, but it was so high level. But they classified everything in health as medtech. So to be honest, it's a non-standardized word that people use, but it's interchangeable between health tech and medtech, I would say.
But it's not the same as ICT?
No. It's what people outside of healthcare use to describe medicine technology, medical technology. But does everyone know what medical device classifications are? I think it's really important to have a general. Who doesn't? Okay. This is very important. So Health Canada and most countries in the world actually regulate devices using some kind of logic gate, except for FDA. They're special. They like doing things differently. But basically, there's from class 1 to class 4, I believe. Class 4 devices, and it's based on how invasive or what role it plays. So if you're an ICT system, what class do you think that you are? Class 1 is the least regulated. Class 4 is the most regulated. So what class do you think digital device, like a ICT system is?
Like a Holter monitor, let's say, that is also producing data would be highly regulated, right?
Yeah, that's good. So it's good for you to differentiate. So medical devices tend to be class 2 and above.
Yeah.
Right, but what about like my solution right now? I use to communicate and send information back and forth. It's very vital.
Is it making a medical decision?
Good.
Software
There.
as a medical device.
Okay, wait, you're cheating. You know the domain. So that is a differentiator. So basically, an ICT solution is a class 1 system unless it is actually making a clinical diagnosis or decision, right? Now, does everyone know what CDSS is? Clinical Decision Support System. Yeah. So if I make a decision, but I ask a doctor, hey, I think this is what it is, yes or no, am I a class 1 device anymore?
Who's making the final decision?
Oh, the doctor's clicking yes.
It's not.
Then you're,
It depends on the classification, as I say, is it prescriptive versus augmentative and stuff like that, right? So if it is just helping you make a decision, then it might be a low.
I'm literally thinking I think this guy has diabetes. And then doctor's like, yes, you are right.
It's not giving you options.
Well, the option is yes or no.
Well, it's a support system, so it's not an actual decision maker to support.
It's just a word.
Yeah, technically it's still class 1. You could easily argue that it is. However, there's been new pushback on that. So now you have to provide your rationale. You provide the rationale why you think it's there so that the doctor can actually make a decision in the point, then that's class 1. And they're starting to attack people who don't give that as a class 2 system.
So the AI-enabled radio images are going to be, what's their, so they're going to be a higher class?
Well, it all depends. If they do it by themselves, then they're going to be class 3. Okay, if they do it without any radiologist, they're going to be class 3 because the implications of the decision is used for so many things, right? But if a radiologist, if it guides them to where it has to be and the radiologist says yes, then that's going to be class 1.
How do you provide the rationale? The AI is making a prediction.
Does anyone know what interpretable models are? So a neural network is not an interpretable model because there's no way for you to explain to a human being the rationale for it. A logistic regression algorithm is an interpretable model because I can actually show you the feature coefficients and the rationale for why I said that this person has diabetes. So interpretability is going to become a big thing. But again, governments are catching up. They're still not there yet. I'm counting on it, by the way.
With a laboratory analyzer, what role would they fall under? Because they're giving well, they're, I guess, aiding in diagnosis, but if you mess up, you're killing a person.
So it all depends. If it results in an actual, if it's just like a mass spectrometer or something like that, then that's actually regulated through a device, totally separate thing. Like that's a measurements. There's like a measurement standards organization. Yeah, am I right on that? So this is now I'm in a weird. But if you combine, if you make a decision, you say these are the top reasons or the biological products that could affect this. So if you use any kind of smart linking into it, then it becomes a medical device, right? So if you're saying anything more than like any this amount, this.
Yes. One example of 4 device, the maximum.
Pacemaker. There we go. That's a classic one. Oh my God, you're really versed in this area.
I work in that company.
I know. Wow.
Sells pacemakers.
Yeah, I'm always. There's going to be this class is always so fun because as I go through, I step into people's expertise domains, and I like look at their face and I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I'm right. I got 100% though. I didn't say anything accurate, right? Oh, there we go. Wow, it's almost like I know what I'm doing. Okay.
Oh.
Almost. Yeah. How big of a problem is there behind managing information? So we're a little spoiled today. So, sorry, this is a new slide I created. Tell me how you do the following. Give an address to your friend for a dinner reservation, right? So how would you guys do that? You text it, right? So find out how much money you have. Go into the bank app, right? Write notes for a class. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you put it in. So Keep. Wow, you're Microsoft. No, wait, Google Keep. Oh, sorry. Shoot. That's good. Sorry, we're a Google App Shop also. So it just sucks because like we literally can't. Like the bad thing about it is that we can't region encode it. So that's why I hate it. What?
Well, and dinner reservations,
You drop a pin.
Wherever.
Okay. My point is that you're using a bunch of different systems, right? And these are like daily activities that you've done. So why in healthcare do we think that we can consolidate into one system? Why do we think that an EMR can do so many different activities when just what we do on a daily basis is so differentiated, right? Logging in has nothing. She uses Keep, then dropped it in WhatsApp and everything. She could have done that with a Google identity throughout all of them without logging in again. Okay, so anyways, let's move on to modern computing, right? So one of the things is, I gotta do a little bit of history. How many times, you guys had a class with Colin, right? Yeah. Because of Colin and me meeting, this used to be the entire first 2 lectures, and I now made it into like a really quick session. So anyways, I'm going to go through it really quickly. So if you want to learn the history, go do it. If you don't know the history of computing, like remember my term that I said before, where when you take out your actual cell phone and there should be lights at this end and angelic voices that come on, like you have to take the time to at least understand a little bit about what computers and how they came to be, okay? So I'm not going to rehash things, so you can go through that again. But does anyone, like, you know that this, what is this? It's a mainframe, right? But this is what's happening inside this right now.
Oh my God. Wow. I was right when you're flowing.
That sounded so big.
No, I think it was meant to be, but yes, I've been in rooms that are that big.
Yeah, you guys have to understand that. It's not, I'm not representing this as trying to blow your mind. I'm trying to create some respect that we have in the complexity of what we have together, right? But the funny thing is that you can actually look at a mainframe to learn more about your laptop. because you know that these functionalities are always going to be divided up. Processing will always be different than memory. Memory and disk space are getting a little bit conflated. Does everyone know the new type of RAM that can actually be solid state or RAM? What was it called? Yeah, there's a cool name for it. Yeah, but now they're getting because the whole boundaries. So everyone knows what solid state drives are. Who doesn't know what a solid state drive is? Okay, USB key is a solid state drive. Okay, so normal drives have things that spin up and they do that kind of stuff. But that solid state drive technology has gone so good that it can actually act as memory. And memory is supposed to be very different. Memory is a special type of disk drive where it needs power because it needs to be fast. So before the rule was you always have to power memory, but now you can actually, those solid state drives are so efficient that you can actually use them as memory instead. I'm just flashing through this. I just want you guys to understand that the biggest differentiator that we had as we went from mainframe is the concept of moving away from people or companies being able to only do the work to the point where we abstract it out. So the biggest focus of history of computing is the abstraction and the miniaturization, right? Those are the two things. So what made technology awesome today is the fact that instead of one company doing everything, we started abstracting out. Someone makes a hardware, someone makes a OS, the BIOS, someone makes an OS, someone makes a software, someone makes all these things. By separating it out, you create competition in each one of those markets. And that led to miniaturization for performance and hardware, as well as optimization for the software. So that's where this concept of Moore's Law comes in, okay?
Do you think that things will continue to get smaller and faster and cheaper in terms of the hardware?
They're just reaching crazy limits now. Like the limits is that like you can't have an electric charge within, is it 4 nanometers? I forget. There's some threshold where now it's just like they can do it, but physics doesn't let them. Those electrons will now interact with each other. And the biggest issue here is that a lot of digital circuits, oops, I got it. Automatically locked. Okay. And I just leave it open because it gets hot in here. So the issue is that traditional circuits, like electronic circuits, everyone know how electronic circuits work, right? Just electrons can travel easily through things like metals, right? And pure metals can travel faster. But that's all conventional physics. Does everyone know the difference between Albert Einstein's physics, like general relativity, and then quantum mechanics? Anyways, 4 nanometers, quantum mechanics starts happening. Electrons just go boop, and they just jump over, and they're like, what the hell's going on? So that's the reason why they can't do it. Hardware is not going to become better, but what's becoming better is software. Like the algorithms that we're starting to use, the things that we're like, the reason why we can do crazy AI is because they're using graphics cards. Does everyone know why? What? GPUs. So why are GPUs so good for data science and everything? Does everyone know this? It's what? No, that's not. No, it's not. You don't visualize. No, you're thinking about the movies where you walk in and you move things around. No, visual.
As opposed to how you synthesize the amount of information that's there. It's more visual.
I think I know. Okay, so graphics was all about ray tracing. It was all about understanding how light hits things and how it does it. That's how they made cool graphics cards in the consoles or the games that you love playing. To do that, you have to do something called matrix multiplication, right? And because the graphic cards are very efficient at doing matrix multiplication, that's the reason why they're good at AI. Because AI, all neural networks are basically matrices of computational frameworks that are integrated with each other. So they're designed to support that. So what we're doing now is our hardware is reaching a limit, but we're being more creative how we use a different type of hardware that we have. So the Moore's Law is kind of like, just if it's hardware, it's coming like this, but then software is kind of bringing it back up to this. But who cares? Moore was just a guy at IBM who made a prediction, right? So, but the whole concept that they have is every 18 months, the capacity or the capability of technology will double. That's basically what they were saying, right? Okay, so if this was a longer class, what I did in MHI is I actually brought in my old computer and we actually disassembled it. And then just so that you guys actually knew what it is, we don't have enough time, okay? But really understand computers. Like if you look at this computer, every computer has the same basic functionality, even though a mobile phone has the same, which is you have a motherboard, and that motherboard is designed to act as a way for different systems to connect, but that you have a CPU, you have cards, and you have different things that you can add in, but you always have CPU, which is a processing unit. You always have memory, which is the ability to store thoughts and that kind of stuff. Then you have a storage device, which is either a solid state drive or a disk drive. You don't have to write it down because on the next slide I kind of just show you. And really what I want you to do is everyone's coming from health. If you're coming from health, you can relate it to the body, okay? The only part that you have to think about is that the brain serves two roles, memory and processing, right? So that's the only difference. But other than that, your ability to like do different things, there's a very easy way to actually map it to what we do. Okay, I'm just trying to see. Oh my goodness, so many slides. Okay, so does everyone know what an operating system is? Colin should have touched on this a bit. Really? Okay, who doesn't know what an operating system is? Oh man, I see like 5 faces raise their hands, but no one else raised their hands. Okay, so let me try making operating systems a little bit easier for you to understand. Operating systems are designed with, how do I relate to life? Imagine every day, every activity that you did, you had to do it the hardest way possible, right? So let's say you wake up in the morning and you had to wash your clothes, but you have to go actually to the creek and actually wash your clothes and do everything and then go back, right? And then you want to cook food, but you don't have a fridge, so you have to go actually hope that the hen laid some eggs. I don't know what you're going to do about your meat because that doesn't work without refrigeration, but you do what you do. Like if you had to do everything like that every morning, do you think that you'd be able to get to work and get anything done? Or do you think that your entire day would just be spent surviving? Like this is actually one of the issues in developing worlds, right? Is that they consume so much of their time just surviving that they're not able to actually get to a higher level of productivity. So technology is not so different. There's so many cool devices inside here who have to work and orchestrate well that if you needed an application that was responsible for hitting all of those and you had to develop that every time as a software developer, you'd never be able to make something cool. So all an operating system does is it abstracts it. It says, I need to do this 1,000,000 times, so automate it, make it easier for me to access that information. So an operating system is like, it takes all, like your camera, your speakers, your microphone, your USB, your display, and it basically hides it all under a very easy way to access it. So me as a software developer, I don't need to know anything about these specific technologies. I just need to know how to talk to the operating system. So it's a broker, right? So if you can remember it, an operating system is a broker to make it more efficient, right? So as a result, like I can wake up in the morning and go to my fridge and do that and then use a washing machine. It's just convenience layer. So one of the things about operating systems is that actually today, how many operating systems do you think that you have on your phone? Obviously you have one. You have the iOS, right? So that's, or you have Android. That's your operating system. Well, operating systems are kind of weird because sometimes people talk about them as OSs, okay? So everyone likes Google, right? You like Google. So you like Google Suite. Is that an application or an OS? It's actually an OS. Chrome OS.
I guess if you're talking about Google,
yeah, so the thing is, platforms and applications, they're not obvious. OSs are abstractions, but now there's the new world is that you can create OSs that only certain apps can work on. That's why they created Office 365, because they didn't want you installing Office apps on there. They wanted you in their OS, and they were losing people on Windows. Well, Android is owned by Google, but it's open. Is it open source? I think it's open source. Yeah. Android is open source, and they let other people use it. So if you have Huawei, for now, if you have a Huawei, you'll have Android. It won't in the next, that's a long story. But if you have like a Samsung phone, it has Android on it because they're able, that's an OS. So basically Samsung just has to make the device, then they can put Android and learn it. So now Google, so Chrome, so understand Google, G Suite, that's Chrome OS. They aren't selling it that way, but it is Chrome OS. And what they want to do is make it so that enough people are using the Google Suite correctly, and then guess what they're going to release for laptops? And they've already done this.
Pixel laptop.
Yeah, they're called Chromebooks. They've already done it. So it's so funny to see people be like, oh, I wouldn't buy a Chromebook. Just wait 4 years. You'll actually buy a Chromebook. And one of the cool things is, one of the things about Chromebooks is they use the same devices. But what's one of the most striking differences of a Chromebook versus a regular laptop? Has anyone used a Chromebook? They have like battery life of 12 hours, right? One of the reasons why these computers don't have longer battery lives is because the OS does everything. And because it does everything, it consumes a lot of electricity, right? So what they've done is they said, Chrome said, we don't need half of this crap. So why don't we make a lightweight thing that just supports productivity apps and it actually lasts longer? So if you buy a Chromebook and you only use Chrome, I guarantee you it'll be 10 to 12 hours of battery life, even though you're using everything that you want. Okay, so OSs are kind of cool. They're not an old thing. They're the new edge, and it's a new play that everyone's making. They want you on their OS. They don't care about their applications anymore. They have app stores for their OS. So understand the fight that's going on right now is not an application fight. It's an OS fight. So if you're, and that's one of the reasons. Like for my company personally, I'm trying to create a platform. Because if I'm trying to make an app, I'm already losing. I know in 5 years I'm going to just be dead. So, or required, hopefully. We'll see. Okay, so anyways, the microcomputer was really cool. I'm going to go through faster this because Colin definitely taught you. Microcomputer. Everyone knows what a microcomputer is? This is a computer, what we call today. And everyone knows that there was a big fight between Apple and IBM. Okay, like, have you guys seen the video, like the movie Pirates of Silicon Valley? Who hasn't seen that movie? Can you just, you know, I will go fast through this crap. Just watch that. Like, it's a way better way to do that. Just download it through mildly controversial means and then just watch it because it is entertaining, it is fun, and it helps you understand. Yeah, the Pirates of Silicon Valley.
Did they eventually use IBM instead of trying to destroy them?
Who?
Apple.
No, Apple and Microsoft wanted to kill IBM. And that's actually why IBM probably lost, is because they got hit by software and consumer hardware at the same time. And so IBM just became a victim in a fight between what were two startups. So I mean, like, it's pretty cool. So go watch it. So Apple took a very different angle. So Apple took, we're novel technology, we'll give you the best consumer app product, and they've hung on to that methodology until today. They're a premium product. Microsoft took the, I'm going to make software more important than hardware approach, and they won, right? And that's the reason why they fell back. So just understand that. So let's talk about some typical OSs I want you to know about. The first one is BIOS. Every computer that you have, just so you know, every computer or every device that you have has at least two OSs, period, okay? You have the BIOS, which is an OS that is simply there to regulate your devices. So when does, you know when your fan turns on, right? When does your fan turn on? Someone answer that. I want a silly question. What? When you start watching a video that's too high resolution, when you have too many apps open, right? Yeah. Yeah. So your OS isn't telling anything. Your BIOS says the temperature of the CPU is high, we need a fan on. That's what it is, right? So either you're wearing like woolly pants and sitting on a couch, that's also another reason why it goes on, because it's just hot. But the BIOS doesn't care about the OS. One of the things about OS is that you don't care about OSs on top of them. The BIOS is there to protect the devices. So it turns off fans, it turns off the computer if it reaches a certain core temperature. That's what the BIOS does. DOS was a disk operating system for Windows. I think this is an old slide. It doesn't even matter because really, does everyone know what the predominance? So if you have a MacBook, what OS are you running on it? No, you're running Linux BSD. Come on, get with it. Don't call it that anymore. No, just joking. But it is. They used to be. They used to have Darwin. That used to be iOS, right? But now they're actually just using Unix or Linux codes, right? So everyone who has an Apple book, you are Linux users, right? Or Unix users. I'm telling you, that's what it is.
But then how many people are exposed to Unix or Linux for that matter? Like actually exposed to it?
But that's the secret of OSs. You're not exposed to them. That's a whole thing, right? So you haven't actually experienced Chrome OS, but you love G Suite. Okay? And it works because of Chrome OS. Okay, Apple versus okay, I'm just going to go through here. You guys know this stuff, right? Okay, you can read on it. Unix. Now, Unix is interesting. I don't think many people did Colin touch on Unix or not really? Okay. You have to know about the evolution of Unix because it is going to be like literally, it's so cool. 2 years ago, I said I no longer install on Windows systems, and it felt great to say that. Okay. I have one installation that I did for Royal Victoria Hospital in 2013. I have logged onto it twice a year, and it hasn't gone down. So it's a computer that's been running in the background. Well, now it's an end-of-life technology, but I feel sad. It's just working fine, but I have to get rid of it. But I mean, it just works. Like that's the whole point. So the thing is that Unix was made. It was basically Bell Labs made it, but really, what I think it was Stanford or somewhere else that really kind of pushed it forward. But the whole concept of it is that when an OS does exactly what it has to do. The problem with Microsoft and all those ones is that they were beholden to market forces, right? So when an OS gets introduced, Microsoft then creates a partnership with, let's say, Toshiba or something like that. So guess what? They have to dump a ton of drivers and custom functionality to support Toshiba systems in it. And this just happens over a while. And then eventually market forces created the Microsoft OS. And that's a major reason why it's fairly unstable. It's a market-driven OS. This one is an academic-driven OS. It started off as just people saying, what does the perfect OS have to do at a minimum? And then they created what they call, does anyone know what the heart of Unix is or any distribution of Linux? It's called a kernel, like a kernel of popcorn. It's just beautiful, it's small. And it's a really good way of visualizing it because it's beautiful and it's small and it doesn't get touched except for very core activities. So Unix is based on the kernel methodology. So you compile a kernel that is optimized to work with the devices that you have in your system. Whereas Microsoft, you can install it onto any device and it basically plug and plays and figures out stuff. But that means every piece of that useless code is actually in everyone's version of Windows. So kernel abstraction allowed for several user interfaces to be built for Unix. So what they did is they said, no matter what, we're always going to compile a lightweight thing that's designed to work with the technology on your computer, and this is how you can talk to it. And so what happened is that it started off with different distributions. So yeah, it was Berkeley, sorry, that worked on it, sorry. So then you had different distributions. You had like Red Hat, you had Ubuntu, you had many of these different distributions. So this was like the late 1990s and early 2000s was really where this was the most common. And you'll see that there's kind of like this genealogy of how people spun off from it. But it's winning. It's basically winning silently behind the scenes. And one of the biggest victories that it had is, what are the two biggest victories that you think Unix and Linux has had in the last 5 years? I already told you one of them. The Macs. So what's the second one? What's a cool technology that everyone talks about now? Where is your data? It's on the cloud. Yes, cloud. Because guess what? Unix is easy to manage when you have 5,000 zombie node computers in a data center. Windows is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. If you connect 4 Windows computers together, you've now created a job for 5 people. So whereas if you look at these data centers, they're all running Unix instances. It's at the point now where you can go, and I'll talk about it later on how the cloud works, but you could go in with a bat into a Google Center and you could just like break everything. And if you went through and you could take out the entire data center and no one would lose their data. No one would lose their data because they know how to manage it better. It's just a more resilient system. But anyways, Microsoft dominates. Just so that we understand, Microsoft is still very powerful. It's still, isn't it the largest tech company? Second?
Biggest company in the world overall.
Oh, overall.
After Amazon, it's bigger than Apple.
Yeah, they're so effective at just holding on.
They grew 400% in the last 7 years.
I think it's between. So, does anyone know the reason why they aren't dead right now?
They're in or they're not.
Oh, there's the second biggest company in the world.
I just didn't catch it.
Oh, they're not. So why are they holding on? What were the two biggest pivots that they did to actually grow? Do you have any?
Well, they went down from PCs and from soft hardware.
Yeah. They
Data centers, clouds,
spun off their mobiles division and said, screw it, we're just going to use Android. They just found out, and then they jumped to Azure. So really what they did is they sold out, right? Because Azure is the reason why they're doing well, period.
Does their O365 subscription model also contribute to that? Like before, you used to buy a license and not pay anymore.
Yeah.
Now you have to pay every year.
So there's two. Okay, why? Anyone here use Office 365?
Yeah.
And why do you not go off that? Why aren't you using Google?
It's free for them. That's
Oh, okay.
Seriously, like I wouldn't pay for it.
Oh.
I would use
Work pays for it. Okay,
We
okay.
use it at work.
So why do you think the work people pay for it? Why do you think that they're on Office 365? It's because they have existing integrations with Outlook and Excel. Those are the major reasons why. And so basically, as soon as they lose those application markets, and if anyone's used Google Slides or Gmail or Office Sheets, they're getting really good. They're getting faster. Like my sister's a CPA, and she would never use anything but Excel, but now she's actually like starting to think about using Google Sheets. So the thing is that Microsoft's capitalizing on their application market share to force people to go onto their OS, right? But has anyone here used OneDrive?
Yeah.
That's the reason why they're not going to stay on Microsoft Office 365. It's the worst thing ever. It is worse. It's horrible. Okay, so anyways. So it's good. I like talking about modern, like this is OS. This is supposed to be boring, but no, it's a new capital market play. People just don't see it happening. So understand, it's good to understand these concepts because they're relevant right now. Okay, so mobile OS. Actually, I have to cross out Microsoft now. God damn, I have to update this slide. So we only have two, guys. We only have two. How do you like it? We're the. Oh, what?
Huawei.
Oh, because.
The second biggest company in the world, and they have more than 1 billion users. So.
Yeah, but do you think that the Chinese market can sustain them alone?
It's like, why not?
I don't know. We'll see. They are strong users of technology, but also I think that the general model that people use for the Chinese market is they deploy technology to make sure that they can scale operations to be efficient, and then they make profit, massive profit in external markets. So that new model is going to have to profit in the internal market. So the only way is if the government, as always, gets involved a little bit and then makes it more profitable there. But yeah, there would be that. But I would hate using that OS. It would scare the crap out of me. I gotta be honest with you.
But like their devices do not even use, like even existing ones with Android, they don't use Google Play. They actually have their own marketplace for apps.
Yeah.
Like in China and in that whole region.
Yeah.
And the apps that they use are completely different than the one we use.
So now the thing is, so Huawei, we're getting into a weird part in the way that China's IP issue relates to the market, because Huawei is big enough now that they've been exiled from like even the Wi-Fi alliance and everything, they can't create devices that connect to Wi-Fi. Understand that that's a big implication. So if that happens, then governments can sue something as large as that. That will be governed by more international organizations. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But OSs are cool. That's all I'm trying to say. OSs are where the war is being fought. Everyone thought this was like an old thing, but no, it's a new thing. People didn't know about it, right? And actually, to be honest, I actually predicted it 4 years ago, just saying. When I taught this course first, I said that, and I'll talk about it later on. It's when I talk about mobile devices, because you could see what they were doing. The way that they were building the system wasn't to serve the current users, it was to serve a future agenda that they had. Okay, and then here's a market share as you see it. Global market, it's getting pretty crazy. So anyways, key themes from What we talked about as time progressed, the key evolutionary force driving progress was the concept of abstraction, right? Understand that someone who does everything is not going to be as nimble as someone who does one segment really well. And the reason why computers advanced so quickly is because they were effective at abstracting. Hardware people, do your hardware stuff. OS people, do your OS stuff and everything. But one thing that you have to be scared about is as we get better at processing data, what you've done is now give large organizations the ability to re-enter this market, right? So has anyone worked with SAP? Does anyone know what SAP is? Who's worked with SAP? Put hands.
We know what SAP is.
Oh, you know, but you haven't. Oh, okay. But you haven't. Working with it is different.
Yeah.
Like I worked with them in finance, and it scared me. They were selling the company. They came to them. They're like, we need to introduce our new model. It's called SAP HANA. Yeah. So they wanted to sell SAP on HANA, and what it was that they found a way to take all the devices, find the best memory, connect it with their app and their application, and offer it as one solution. So what does that look like? That's a mainframe. They're going back to selling us mainframes, right? So the scary thing is that people's understanding of data and being able to regulate markets and people who get verticals, they're going to bring us back into the future. You're starting to get it already. Look at this. This is like a mainframe. It's a mainframe. They're selling the OS, the apps, and the technology to you. The only difference is it's in your pocket. So everyone thinks that this is so cool, but this is that ugly diagram that you saw before, right? So understand that you need to understand these forces because guess what? This is how hospitals get screwed because they buy mainframe EMRs. Epic. Sorry. I know you're working with it. But Epic is like, we can solve everything until they can't. Try doing something Epic doesn't do. It is impossible. It is impossible. So they either support it inside their application or they don't support it. But everyone's trying to become the everything for everyone now. So just watch out for that. Okay, so some other thoughts I want you guys to know about is speeds of adoption are just becoming insane now also. This is the one thing that gives me hope. Speed of adoption is nice because if someone gets caught with their hands dirty, like Huawei, for example, let's just say, right? The ability for the global environment and users to shift is actually really quick. I guarantee you in like 4 months, no one's going to be buying Huawei phones. And yet they're all around. They just released this huge marketing campaign also here. So, but the nice thing about it is like understand that this is something that we need to capitalize on. So remember how I talked about one thing that I absolutely hate is apathy, right? Do you know what apathy does in an industry? It reduces the speed of adoption. Apathy makes you tolerate crappy things. This is why healthcare is kind of screwed, is because everyone's like, I guess I can't change it, so I'm just going to have to figure out a way how to use this monochrome Meditech screen to figure out how to do my work. Right? Too real for you? Is that too real? No. Who uses Meditech?
I know Meditech is so hard. It is.
Yeah, it's so hard.
And you have to use the keys to navigate it. You can't use the mouse unless something is scanned into it.
So, anyways, but if you learn how to use the keys, you can
still
still
it's like second nature, but it's a steep learning curve for something so archaic.
Yeah, but you know what the funny thing is? It's not fun to use. When did we just walk away from technology should be fun to use? It should give you satisfaction. So anyways, different thing, but understand apathy is what creates these slower adoption curves.
Isn't that like Collins' model
What do you do? God, I have to talk to him again. It's only been a year.
I forgot. He developed something, right? Like a model or something on users that like.
We get different terminology for the adoption curve.
Yeah.
So early adopters is like.
Oh, that's Rogers' adoption model. Rogers. So the early, there's one before it. It's like the innovators, then the early adopters, then the late, the early majority, late majority. That's Rogers' adoption curve.
Yeah.
He made a new one.
No, I think he named some of them. He made
Okay,
some
either way.
Like the cautious investors or something like that.
I think Google will call him in.
It's a learning experience.
Okay.
For you and for
All
us.
parties, no, all parties involved.
No, here, let me just tell you why I don't. The only reason why I don't like it because people remember things when they're having fun or when they're scared. Those are basically the times when you actually code things. So if people are having fun, don't kill that. But if you're having fun, you're trying to understand it. They're going to go home and they're going to look it up again. So that energy, I want to preserve it. Preserve happiness and fear. So I'll give you some fear. Okay, so that's basically it. So some other terms that you guys need to know about. You guys know about Gardner's hype cycle? Okay, so this is not funny because the other MHA covers, no one knew what the hype cycle is. You should know what the hype cycle is. No. When do you present? I taught last fall.
Colin brings it up in his course. Eric did in his course.
But it's like an old thing regardless. Like, I mean, it's from.
I mean,
It's an old thing.
well,
Yeah.
it's a known thing.
It's a known thing. I actually don't mind it, but I don't do not. Gardner is a company.
Yes.
Okay? Gardner makes money by telling people that they can influence them what is an upcoming technology. They actually charge people to be at different points in this curve. So just understand, when you digest this, use it as just inspiration. Do not use it as fact. This is not fact at all. Okay? But that being said, there are some things Gardner did create that I do like, and I'll talk about them later in another course. Okay, so there. Look at that. 4 minutes to go, and I'm at the end. So edutainment, which is very good. If you want to understand what it's like to be a startup, look at Silicon Valley and understand technology and the challenges associated with actually bringing technology to life. If you don't get history and you just want to have a visual reference to it, just download that, watch that show. It will tell you everything that you need to know about the complexity, the differences between hardware and software, and the role that it played in forming what you see as tech giants today. Sound good? Okay, why don't we take a 10-minute 10-minute break, and then we'll come back and finish the second lecture. Yeah. Burning is stupid option.
So you found it? That's fine. Somewhere. It's pretty. It's nice. I don't know. Like it's somewhere here.
What? It's a lot of text.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't know where it is, but it's on. It's his theory.
Okay.
IS success. So when we talk about IS success, yeah, he talks about something. It was nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I
I'll
don't
ask him
remember.
about it.
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like for example, it's like you know how like on a website it's like I want a square box. The code is literally square box, or like it's not, but like do it as like and then it's like how big do you want the square box? You type like this, like you won't know, but then it'll show you stuff on the screen, and you'll be like still too small, and then you just change it. It's easier than SPS. Like it's easier conceptually. This is like this like a class though.
Like I think like you're working with these
but then it's not that because I would focus on the project management course actually that's why this site is not working on this. That's something you can do. Like you said, we're doing each one of those. At least my week is doing something. So that's why. So it's just a that's a long it's one of those things where like as someone who works on project management as well, it's like later on you're like look at this, and then you're like, oh shit, we got this entire portion that we should have documented. This is also a course, so it's meant to teach you like if you were to stand up. Yeah, and if you chat with one, you'll know like different people like it's not like every single event you should
You stay there.
Also, I was just saying, right now, it's so hard for people. But it's also just for organization. I will say, like, I'm not very big on charters. Which is we need the project that gets much money. This is money. The project chart is more like, what do we need to do, and then know what this project is. And then later on, they're like, let's change the scope 16 times, and that's
actual
Project Charter, yeah. Oh, you there? I fell asleep.
Street footage.
They have to, they can take the ferry.
Yeah, he said, no, I'm still back. I think
It's like there's so many talks. Like, you can only leave the house.
Yeah, right. I mean, I